Welcome to your Inspirational Astrology Horoscope for Wednesday, December 4th, 2013. I'm astrologer David Palmer, the Leo King, here to illuminate the collective consciousness. Check out my December webinar. It is up now at inclusiveastrology.com, and my live webinar classes. Registration is ending soon because we start these at the beginning of the week. Everything's at inclusiveastrology.com. We have got Mercury leaving Scorpio today. Wow, here we are, finally. Mercury coming out of the trenches, coming out of the dark holes, coming out of our deep inner world. You know, this has been so deep. And today's a very transitional day as the moon now has transited into Capricorn. It's going to conjunct Pluto, square Uranus. This is that very intense square we're dealing with. This is us also as well, I believe, having to push through these dark feelings, push through these intense inner worlds. As the universe wants us to adjust our realities, Mars is on its last couple days here of being in Virgo, and there's this intensity as Mercury there is making a sextile, but it is Mercury which has to go through this transitional period. It's got to leave deep, intense, retrograde energy in Scorpio, this deep inner world, to now come into the light. But this is different light. You know, Mercury is Gemini-based. It's coming into Sagittarius, which is the opposite sign of Gemini. This is like having to go with not many details, not understanding the environment exactly, and especially as it starts to square Neptune in Pisces today. Even though we're pulling ourselves out here, we're kind of going a little blind, right? We're like, oh, okay, here we go. Is this all good? It's like, okay. And we want to have structure today. I think we're going to want to have structure. We're going to, you know, that moon when it comes into Capricorn, even though we want positivity and we want to expand and we want to grow, we want something to grow into, and we want to be able to achieve something with what we're growing with. And this is this intensity of Pluto that you're going to feel today. This is going to be an intense day with some transitions happening. And these transitions are teaching you to make the adjustments in your reality, see this big picture that we talked about yesterday. But now we need to make sure that we're understanding things correctly. Like, are we really seeing big, or are we still caught up in this deep fear or this deep inner world? Like, can we push out of this today? I think we can, because by the end of the day, Mercury will be officially in Sagittarius, so you will start to feel this. And whenever you do have a day like this with the moon squaring Uranus as well, and this is about change, and this is about radical change, and you'll feel it today, to not be afraid to go with this change, to accept it and to go with it, but to make sure that you really are paying attention to where your thought patterns are going, as they could be misled into different directions if you're not really paying attention to the spiritual signs in yourself, if you're not really listening to your gut either. This is going to test quite a lot in people for the next 48 hours, but there is a positive where this is pulling us out of the swamp and pulling us out of this deep, dark world and starting to see what we do on the outer surface, what we do back in the sunlight. This is our eyes adjusting after being, you know, cut up in a cupboard or a closet for 2 days, or actually 2 months, sorry. It's like, wow. You know, it's a very big adjustment today. And it's all about us starting to really paint this bigger picture. It's about us stepping into a belief structure, one that could rocket launch our spiritual destinies, one that could rocket launch our realities to go exactly into the lives that we want. But our perception must be clear. And that's what this time is about. As we are getting ready to go on a trail. If you watch my webinar, this is about a huge trail that we're getting led up to. And we got to make sure that we are pursuing the right trails, and that comes in your belief structure. I talked about later on this week about how this is the time to make your reality adjustments and for you to really see better for yourself, step into the correct identity. It is today that, you know, even though we want structure in our lives, I think there's old structures we still need to break, and we need to really break them in order for us to step into the right identity, the right identification. We could be holding on to things that we don't need to anymore, and we need to really start to reinvent who we are by stepping into the self we must really be. It is this new self that is going to change your life. And more importantly, it is the structure of your life, the rules you're living in, the way that the whole building is built. Like, you need to see that in your life, how are you concreting yourself in this? And are you willing to break down and jackhammer out these things that might be holding you in a life that is not suited for you? That's what this Venus retrograde is going to do about your value systems and your relationships. It's coming here to get jackhammered and test to see if you're holding up a structure that's not the right one, or should it be, demolished like the Sands Hotel in Vegas? And that's what Pluto in Capricorn is all about as it squares Uranus, is a facelift. In many ways, this is everybody getting a facelift in their life. And to make sure that your partnerships, to make sure your value systems, to make sure everything that you're doing in your life is getting the proper facelift. And today, we need to make sure that we leave our fears today, that we leave this dark inner world, that we've processed a lot and we understand quite a lot of what's happening inside. So why don't we start to bring a way to solve these problems that we're having inside, to solve these fears? Why don't we start to put together some belief structures here, or just look at all the options on the table of how to get ourselves out of this world, but to make sure that we're listening to a godly spirit, a higher route, and that we're not going to look at the options that are not spiritually good for us. Because that could happen. You could, at this next couple hours, some people could get lost in really weird fantasies, or get lost in things that are trails that don't lead to anything real either. So this is us finding an oasis in our life, but you need to kind of go off the road less traveled and follow your gut and go in the right direction. But be careful. You gotta make sure that you're picking the one that feels spiritually right. Because when you show up on the road that's traveled by all, Coca-Cola's got it, Pepsi, and they're selling drinks, and they're selling cabana service, and it's like they're doing all these things. You need to go find your own trail with your own oasis that's been untapped. And there's multiple options. I want you to remember this. 1 billion trillion options at every moment. And I'll give an example. At any moment, there's 1 billion things you could do. I could pick my cell phone up. I could twirl it. I could spit. I could pick my ear. I could pick my nose. I could eat it. I could scratch my elbow. I could pick up my cat. I could throw this across the room. I could tell you to screw off. I could tell you that I love you. I could tell you... We could just keep going on for billions of days and hours. Infinity. This is an infinity universe with infinity flow all the time. So there is 1 million ways, trillion ways, and infinity ways for you to pull out of this inner world. You've got to see this light. That's what today's all about. Not concrete in your dark, but it's time to jackhammer your dark out. That's what today's all about. But it's a great day, wonderful day. Thank you guys for all of your support. Check out my website, inclusiveastrology.com. Oh, and actually, join the Leo King Astrology Facebook group. If you have questions about astrology, questions about things, I am doing it there. I'm starting a group on Facebook. It's called the Leo King Astrology Group. Join now. It's on Facebook, or add me on Facebook. I have all the links below: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, if you want to hit me up on all there. Thank you guys for all of your support. InclusiveAstrology.com for the webinar sign up and the download of the webinar. Thank you guys for all of your support, and I will see you guys tomorrow.